What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the intros for the 2025 FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start by talking about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This one once again be driven by Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain's coming off of having a solid top 15 run this past weekend at Nashville Super Speedway. And Ross Chastain and this one team have been starting to show a little bit more speed as the year has progressed and went on. He showed speed in this race last year, and over the last couple years, he's still looking for his first ever win in the Cup Series at Michigan. I think he's got a good chance and opportunity to get it done at the track this weekend and might get his second win of the year after winning the Coke 600. Up next up with the 2 car for Team Penske. This one once again be driven by Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric has had decent speed throughout the 2025 season. He's looking for his first non-super speedway victory of the year, as of course he won at Talladega at the beginning of the season. He's been pretty good in Michigan in the past. The Penske cars do have a lot of speed at this track. We'll see what Austin Cindric can do this weekend with Team Penske at the track. We'll see if he maybe is able to have his first multi-win season of his NASCAR Cup Series career. Up next up with the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. This one once again be driven by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon struggled at Nashville Super Speedway. He ran top 25 to top 30 pretty much in that back half of the field most of the night and was way behind his teammate Kyle Busch in the race. He's been decent in Michigan in the past, but he hasn't always set the world on fire. He's looking for a really good run this weekend, looking to have a turnaround and bounce back run. We'll see what he can do, see if he can actually be a little bit closer to Kyle Busch this weekend at Michigan. Up next up with the 4 car for Front Row Motorsports. This one once again be driven by Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson has had a couple bad races as of recently and unfortunately got crashed out at Nashville Super Speedway. The good news for Noah Gragson, we're going to track where Noah Gragson has historically been pretty good, as he almost won this track in his rookie season in 2019 with Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity. I think Noah Gragson's in for a pretty good run. I think Front Row will have some decent speed. We'll see what Noah Gragson can do at Michigan International Speedway with this team. Up next, up with the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This one once again be driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson had a tumultuous race at Nashville Super Speedway, but still salvaged a top 10 finish. We go to a track where Kyle Larson historically has actually been pretty good at. He actually won 3 races in a row, swept in 2017, and won, of course, the fall race and summer race in 2016. Larson's going to be one of the favorites going into the weekend. He's been great at this track. He's shown great speed. Kyle Larson looks to pick up his 4th win in 2025 and his 33rd or 34th career NASCAR Cup Series win. Up next up with the 6 car for RFK Racing. This one once again be driven by Brad Keselowski. After a great run at the Coke 600, Brad Keselowski struggled at Nashville Super Speedway. The good news for Brad, RFK Racing has been pretty good here over the course of the last couple years, as Chris Buescher did win at this track back in 2023, and Brad's also been good and he's won here a couple times. He'll look for a great run this weekend, and Brad looks to turn around the season and maybe sneak in and get his first win of 2025 at Michigan. Up next up with the 7 car for Spire Motorsports. This one once again be driven by Justin Haley. Justin Haley is currently, I believe, sitting in the top 25 in the regular season standings, but is behind Carson Osbar and Michael McDowell when it comes to a little bit of the speed. Since he lost Ronnie Childers, I don't think the 7 cars had the same consistent speed. I think he has a chance to, let's hope this time around the 7 car doesn't flip upside down like it did with Corey LaJoie, who's going to run the Truck Series race later this weekend with Spire, but Justin looks for a good run with this organization. Up next, how about the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing? This will once again be driven by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had a kind of a tumultuous weekend as he spun out in practice, but he's able to recover and finish inside the top 15. Now, remember last year in this race, Kyle Busch had a chance to go to victory lane. He was up front in the majority of the event and led a ton of laps in this race last year. I think this could be a sleeper pick for the weekend at Michigan. Kyle Busch has won here before, back in 2011, I'm pretty sure, and also has won other races in Xfinity and I believe even truck competition as well. We'll see if Kyle Busch can be a factor. I think he's got a chance to get a good run this weekend at Michigan. Up next up with the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This one once again be driven by Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott struggled at Nashville Super Speedway. And we're going to track where while Chase Elliott used to be very good here, he's been solid, but has not been spectacular. He's looking for a turnaround run and still looking for that first win since Texas of last year. I think he's going to have decent speed, but we'll see if Hendrick can bring that decent speed for Chase Elliott this weekend at Michigan. Up next, up with the 10 car for Colleague Racing. This will once again be driven by Ty Dillon. After some really solid performances early in the year, I feel like this 10 team's been starting to lose a little bit of their speed, as Dillon has struggled to even crack the top 25 in recent weeks. I think Ty Dillon will have an okay car, as the call cars have shown some decent speed throughout the year, but I really don't think that Ty Dillon's going to set the world on fire. It could be a struggle. We'll see if Ty Dillon can turn around and have a great run at Michigan and do good with this team. Up next, how about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This is once again driven by Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had a really good run in National Super Speedway, won stage number 1, and also was able to finish inside the top 5. He's looking for his third win of 2025, and I believe his 57th career NASCAR Cup Series win. I think he's won in Michigan before, if I'm not mistaken, so he's looking for another win at this racetrack. It's been a while, though, but I think Denny Hamlin could be someone that could get that win. We'll see what it can do this weekend with Joe Gibbs Racing. Up next, how about the 12th car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney's coming off of picking up his first win of 2025 at National Super Speedway. And now we head to a track where Ryan Blaney has historically been pretty good at, as he won at this track back in 2021. I think Ryan Blaney could be a factor to get back-to-back wins. He's really good on the long run, and I think long-run speed is going to be a factor in Michigan. So we'll see what happens, but I think Ryan Blaney could have a good chance to pick up the win this weekend at Michigan. Up next, how about the 16 car for Colleague Racing? This will once again be driven by AJ Allmendinger. Despite the fact he got a penalty in the early portion of the weekend, he still was able to get a top 20 finish. And I believe AJ has won here in the Xfinity Series back in 2021. He is looking for a good run this weekend, trying to continue to build that momentum, get back into the playoffs. We're going to see if any penalties do get announced later today for AJ, more than he already got this weekend, but we'll see what it can do at Michigan International Speedway. Up next, how about the 17 car for RFK Racing? This will once again be driven by Chris Buescher. I already mentioned this, but of course Chris Buescher did win at this track back in 2023. And this historically is a pretty good track for Chris Buescher in recent years. He is looking for his first win in 2025, and I believe it would be his 7th career NASCAR Cup Series win. I think Buescher could have a solid car. He's had good speed. He's going to need to win because he's kind of on that borderline playoff cutoff line at this moment in the NASCAR Cup Series. Up next, how about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Chase Briscoe. After winning the pole at Nashville, he struggled after losing a ton of track position and barely cracked the top 20 at the end of the event. I think Chase Briscoe and this 19 team are kind of figuring out. Remember a couple years ago, the 19 car Martin Truex Jr. almost won this event. This is a pretty solid track for the Joe Gibbs Racing team. I think if there's a chance for Chase Briscoe to get that first win with the team, it could happen this weekend. We'll see what he can do this weekend with Joe Gibbs Racing at Michigan International Speedway with this team. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, despite the fact he crashed out at Nashville, he still recovered to finish inside of the top 10. And I think Christopher Bell could be a factor for the win at Michigan, as he historically has been pretty good at this racetrack. He's led laps and has been a major factor. He's looking for his 4th win in 2025. I think he's got a good chance and opportunity. I think he will be a factor for a potential win, and maybe gets that 4th win of 2025. Up next, how about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers? This will once again be driven by Josh Berry. Josh Berry's intermediate speed this year has been very, very good, and the 21 car historically over the years has been pretty good at Michigan. I think Josh Berry could be in for a chance to get a really fantastic finish. I think the speed is going to be there for Berry. I think he's got a great chance and opportunity. We'll see what we can do this weekend, see if he can be a factor at Michigan International Speedway. Up next, how about the 22 car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Joey Logano. Joey Logano had a really good run at National Super Speedway this past week, where he backed up last year's win by finishing inside the top 5. And Joey Logano honestly has been solid in Michigan. He's won here a couple times back in 2019. I think he also won here back in like 16, I'm pretty sure, in the spring race, and also won here in 2013 as well. He's due for another win at Michigan. I think he's going to have a good chance and opportunity to do that, especially with the speed that Team Penske has shown. Up next, how about the 23 car for 2311 Racing? This will once again be driven by Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is coming off of having a bounce-back run this past weekend in Nashville, finishing inside the top 10 in 6. And I do think Bubba Wallace is one of the favorites going into this weekend, considering Bubba Wallace has been really good the last couple years at this track. If there's a track where Bubba could end the winless streak going back to Kansas in 2022, I certainly think it could be this weekend in Michigan. He looks to get it done. We'll see if Bubba can be a factor for the win at Michigan. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by William Byron. William Byron had really good speed early in Nashville, but struggled in the second half of the event. He is still looking for his first non-super speedway victory of the year. Byron's been pretty good in Michigan in the past. I think he's got a good opportunity to do it here. I think the pace and speed is going to be there for Byron. He looks to get win number 15 of his Cup career. I think he's got a good chance and opportunity to do that this weekend with Hendrick at Michigan. Up next, up at the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Todd Gillen. Todd Gillen at times has shown some really good speed with Front Row, but also has shown some pretty big inconsistencies as well. He is looking for a really good run this weekend in Michigan. He's been solid in the Truck Series in the past at the track. I think he could be in for a top 15 run. We'll see if Front Row can bring the speed and if Todd Gillen can show some good performances this weekend at Michigan. Up next up at the 35 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst has struggled with 2311 Racing this year. He had one of his better finishes of the season at Nashville, and that was a 24th place finish. It just seems like this 35 team is not clicking. If Corey Heim was behind the wheel, I think he'd be doing much better in this car. It's been a struggle for Riley. He does have a contract for next year, but he's not been very good this year and has struggled with 2311 Racing in 2025. Up next up at a 38 car for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Zane Smith. Zane Smith once again had another really good performance this past weekend at Nashville, and he is a former winner at this track in the Truck Series 5 years ago. I think Zane Smith could be a factor for a top 10 finish once again. The 38 car has been the strongest front row car, it seems like, on a week-by-week basis. I think he's going to have a pretty solid car, and I think he'll have a good chance and opportunity for a very strong run and maybe gets a top 10 at Michigan. Up next up with the 41 car for the Haas factory team. This will once again be driven by Cole Custer. Cole Custer showed some life this past weekend in Nashville as he ran inside the top 20 in most of the event. And I do think Cole Custer is finally starting to show himself over the last couple of weeks. He's tied for 33rd in the standings, just missed out on competing in the in-season tournament, but I think if there's a track where Cole could be good, considering he's been pretty good here in the past at Michigan and Xfinity, I think it could be this weekend at Michigan. Up next, how about the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club? This will once again be driven by John Hunter Nemechek. The last couple weeks for the 42 team, not as strong as they've been prior, but I think Nemechek has been pretty good here. I think he's won here in the Xfinity Series before, so I think that experience could play a major role in helping Legacy Motor Club have the pace and speed. We'll see what John Hunter Nemechek can do and see if he can be a factor maybe for a top 15 this weekend at Michigan. Up next up at the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club. This will once again be driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones had a really impressive run at Nashville. He ran top 10 all night, was up as high as second in the race, and I think the pace and speed has been really impressive for the number 43 team at times this year. He is still looking for another victory, his first victory since Southern 500 back in 2019, or 22 I should say. I think he's got a shot, and I think he's got an opportunity for a good run at his home track of Michigan. Up next up at the 45 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick comes in as the defending winner of the race from 2024, which of course is later in the season. I think Tyler Reddick will be a factor. He's still looking for his first Cup win in 2025, first win since Homestead of last year. I think he's going to have a pretty fast car. I think the pace and speed will be there. We'll see what Reddick can do, but I think he will be a factor for a great run at Michigan. Up next up with the 47 car for Hayek Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., despite the fact he did crash out in the most recent race thanks to Carson Hocevar, he had a really good run has had a really good run of races. And this track has not been a bad track for Ricky. He's had some good runs in the past of this track, though I do think it could be a struggle as he's going to be starting farther back due to qualifying. He'll have to work his way to the front. I think it's going to be tough, but I think if anyone can do it, it could be Stenhouse. I think he could be in for a top 15 run at Michigan. Up next up with the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Alex Bowman. After starting off really strong, there's been a lot of inconsistencies with the 48 team. I think he's had 4 or 5 straight races of 27th or worse. They've got to turn it around. This is a track where Bowman's been solid, but he's not been spectacular. He is looking for a really good run this weekend. He looks to get that first win of the year. We'll see if he can turn around and have a great run at Michigan Speedway. Up next up at the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. This will once again be driven by Cody Ware. Cody Ware has struggled immensely this season. He did get another top 20 at Nashville, but that's because a lot of drivers behind him ended up crashing out of the event, and he was competing against guys like NY Racing throughout the event. I feel like if you had like a Corey LaJoie in there, or even another driver like a Sam Mayer or Chandler Smith, or even a Sheldon Creed, that car would be running a lot better, but it's been a struggle this year, and it's not been a good season for Cody Ware in the NASCAR Cup Series. Up next up with the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs historically has been pretty good at this track, and he's going to need that luck because Ty Gibbs has been falling off a cliff like he did at the beginning of the year. This 54 team just doesn't have it right now. They're way too inconsistent. They don't have the speed. When they have the speed, they make mistakes on pit road, and he's not consistently up front. His qualifying not very good at this time. He needs to turn it around. We're about halfway through the regular season. He needs a good run. I'm not sure if he's going to get that good run that he desperately needs this weekend at Michigan Speedway. Up next up with the 60 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece has had a lot of good runs so far in 2025, but last week at Nashville track where I thought he was going to run well, he unfortunately spun out and never really recovered. Ryan Preece though comes to a track where the RFK cars have shown some good speed, so I think if there's a track where Ryan Preece could be bounced back, I think he's got an opportunity to do it. We'll see what it can do this weekend, and maybe he bounces back at Michigan International Speedway. Up next, up at the 71 car for Spire Motorsports. This one's going to be driven by Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell so far this year has shown some pretty good speed, and he did have good speed but fell off on the long run. But McDowell's been solid in the past at Michigan. If there's a track where Spire could contend, it could be this weekend. They've got Hendrick speed, and the Hendrick cars have been always really good at Michigan. So I think he's in for a solid run. We'll see what Michael McDowell can do, and we'll see if Michael McDowell could get that strong chance and opportunity for his first non-crown jewel victory in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Up next, up at a 77 car for Spire Motorsports. This is once again be driven by Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar continues to impress me. He has been very good over the course the last couple weeks. He nearly won the Coast 600 and finished runner-up to Ryan Blaney at Nashville. I do believe that Carson Hocevar will be a factor for the win. He's been really good here in Michigan in the past, showed some really good speed in the race last year, been good in other competitions at this track. I think he'll be a factor. I think Carson could have a chance and opportunity for a great finish this weekend at Michigan. Up next, up at the 88 car for Trackhouse Racing. This will once again be driven by Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen, despite the fact he finished 25th in Nashville, this 88 team is starting to show a little more speed. He ran top 20 majority of the event at Nashville, and he ran top 20 in the whole entire Coast 600, and he's had some top 20s in recent weeks as well. We got a lot of road courses coming up. He won't be competing in the in-season tournament, unfortunately, but I think the 88 team's really starting to find their groove. They're starting to catch up to Swartz on the oval speed. I think he's going to have a chance at a top 20. We'll see what he can do and see if he can qualify very, very well this weekend at Michigan. He looks for a great run at this track. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. This will once again be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez actually stopped the bleeding. He had a very solid run at the race at Nashville and finished inside the top 15. This 99 team, there was a little bit uncertainty around the future of this car, whether Suarez is going to be with this car or if Connor Zilisch may take the seat in 2025. Maybe we see Junior Motorsports come up and partner up if Connor Zilisch takes over the seat. But as of right now, the plans for Suarez maybe to stay. Who knows at this point, but he needs to continue stopping the bleeding. Otherwise, he could lose his seat with this program at the end of the year. We'll see what happens if what Suarez's future, but he'll be in the 99 car once again this week. So that is going to be for the intro video for the 2025 FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. Your thoughts about the intro, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and who you think is going to win the Cup race at Michigan. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If any major news breaks later today, we'll discuss it live on the channel. If not, the next time you're going to see me is tomorrow. We're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing the news over the course of the last couple days. We're talking about the Cleese reports and the Dodge reports as well. Talk about Corey LaJoie going back to Spire Motorsports for a little bit, and maybe some ratings talk among other things. People like Haley D and Shane Van Gisbergen, Carlos Kerbush, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Junior Motorsports, Connor Zilisch, Eric Almirold, Chandler Smith, Carson Koffel, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Frankie Muniz, Prime KSI, Logan Paul, Donald Trump, all the good stuff we'll be probably talking about on the channel. We're going to have race picks for the Truck Series on Wednesday, also Thursday Cup race picks for Michigan, and then of course we'll also have some other stuff coming. We might do an ARC review depending on the weather as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.